Hello, and welcome to the fourth video in my series on Modelling Bakewell Station. In this video, we're going to be following how I constructed the road bridge. I'm fortunate that the real one is still in existence and relatively unchanged, so I was able to visit it, poke it and prod it and take plenty of photos from which to model it. The model of the bridge cannot be an exact match, due to the increased curvature of the track through the station area on the layout, but I tried as far as possible to make it representative of the original. It's a deceptively complex design, as the road surface drops from one side to the other, crosses the track at an angle, and the angle of the bore is not perpendicular to the angle of the road. As a start, I made a cardboard mock-up of various structures, including the bridge, to check that the layout would work. Once I was happy with all the clearances, I transferred the dimensions of the cardboard mock-up to a piece of plywood, which forms the basis of the final structure. Just a quick note regarding scales. 00 gauge is known as 4mm, as it is built to a scale of 4mm to the foot. The larger O gauge is likewise known as 7mm, as it is a scale 7mm to the foot, and the smaller N gauge is likewise 2mm. I'm telling you all this as I'm going to be referring to 4mm and 7mm a lot. The stone effect of the bridge is made using sheets of embossed styrene card. These are available from a number of manufacturers and come in a wide range of scales and styles. For the bridge I'm going to be using 7mm dressed stone from Slater's, which, although apparently the wrong scale, matches the size of the stone used in the construction of the original. I transferred the shape of the bridge from the plywood sheet to a sheet of the embossed stone and cut it to shape. The sheets can be easily cut with a scalpel or sharp knife. To form the arch of the bridge, I used a pair of dividers to score the sheet. I separated the lower section of the bridge from that above the road line and used strips of 30 thou styrene to create the stretcher courses, and glued it all to the plywood using PVA wood glue. The stones of the arch were cut out of a 20 thou plasticard, again using the dividers, and then cut into individual stones and applied to the face of the bridge. I added sloped buttresses to each side of the main section of the bridge to match the appearance of the original. To paint it, I used a base coat of a Humbrol acrylic matte sand No. 63, and once that had thoroughly dried, I used washes of various browns and greens over the top of the matte sand to create the various colours of the weathered stone. By washes, I mean diluting the acrylic paint with water in roughly a 10:1 ratio to give a very thin, watery mixture, which I then applied with a brush and then dabbed off with tissue. Repeating this with different colours gradually builds up the effect you see here. I used Humbrol acrylic black-green, No. 91, to apply the smoke-blackened look over the arch. Here's another look at the original to compare. The main structure of the bridge was built using offcuts of timber and plywood, which I had lying around, all held together with PVA glue. The next job was to add the edges of the arch stones to give them some depth, and I did this with strips of 10 thou plasticards scored to represent the individual stones. I also added the stone courses and stretcher courses under the archway of the bridge using the 7mm embossed stone and 30 thou strip again. Then, using some 4mm brick embossed sheet, I added the underneath surface of the arch. The sheet can be formed to a curve by putting it into boiling water inside a suitably sized container, in this case a mug, and then allowing it to cool. The brick sheet was trimmed to fit and glued inside the arch. The coping stones were cut out of strips of 80 thou plasticard and individually glued to the top of the bridge. They were then painted in matte sand and weathered as before. I then painted and weathered the bricks under the arch, using various coloured washes to try and represent the soot, lichen and water staining of the original. Here's a photo of the original bridge to compare. The model bridge was then placed back on the layout and the scenery built up around it to allow the next step to happen. This is the detailing of the rear of the bridge. Final job was to tackle the road surface and the top of the bridge. I added more stone sheet for the internal face of the walls under the coping stones, and then painted the road surface in a mixture of artist's acrylic burnt umber and black in quite a thick layer to represent an unmetalled road as it used to be. Then I added a pavement on one side, made of 40 thou plasticard, and created a grass embankment on the other side, using strips of paper and PVA glue. This arrangement mirrors the prototype bridge. I painted the embankment in a thick coat of burnt umber, and then added various scenic scatters. That's all for this time, so thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. I'll leave you again with some pictures from the layout.